Our top 10 2019 board game expansions. Thank you for joining me today at Tantrum Mouse Studio D. I'm Kevin Delp. Well, it's that time of year with all the top 10s, and we wanted to share with you expansions because all those great games that come out, they need more content. So I hope you enjoy this list. In the comments below, tell me which ones are your favorite. Let's get started on the top 10 expansions. Number 10 is the expansion to Cant Be Creatures. Cant Be Creatures is a bluffing deduction set collection game for 2 to 5 players and takes about 20 to 30 minutes to play. It adds more creatures, more mortals, and more locations into the mix. The expansion works as a modular system, allowing players to change in and change out the creatures or mortals they would like to play with for that game. Keymaster does a great job with their games. One of our favorites this year has been Parks, and I just love what they do with the aesthetics of their games.
Number 9.
Number 9 is the expansion to Sagrada. Now, technically, this is not the first expansion to Sagrada from Floodgate Games. This is, though, the first in a trilogy called The Great Facades. This one's Passion will soon see life and then glory. It introduces inspiration cards, rare glass dice and cards, rare glass private objectives, and symmetry public objectives. I think the favorite part for me in Passion are the clear dice. They're just so cool looking and just adds to the beautifulness of Sagrada.
Number 8.
Number 8 for me is the expansion to Petrichor from Mighty Boards and Ape Games. Petrichor is an action selection area influence game all about rain. The Honeybee expansion is actually the second expansion after the Flower expansion. It has a new action you can take, a new resource, honey, 4 new tiles, and a giant bee to fly around. You're going to pollinate your apple trees, your blueberry bushes, your watermelon, collect more honey than your opponents, and, of course, that cute bee. Come on now, bees were all the rage this year in 2019, so I had to have something to do with bees on the top 10 expansion list, so the cute bee, you have to add it.
Number 7.
Number 7 is the expansion to War Chest Nobility from AEG. War Chest is a bag-building war game where you're pulling coins out of a bag to take actions. It has 4 new influential units that are added to your force. There's the Royal Proclamations and more to help you achieve dominance in this game of tactical warfare. One really cool thing is that the boxes actually look really cool next to each other. Isn't that cool? Although, you don't really need the expansion box, because AEG already thought of it. You can fit the expansion already inside the base box, so that's pretty cool.
Number 6.
Number 6 is the expansion to Western Legends from Kolossal Games. Ante up. Western Legends is an adventure game for 2 to 6 players that is set in the American Wild West. It adds a minigame called Pharaoh, a train that travels the board for unlawful players to rob, and much more. Ante up also adds new characters, items, the Man in Black cards, and poker cards to mix or replace content from the original game. There is just a whole bunch of good stuff packed into the expansion. I feel like I'm just bringing bigger and bigger expansions out as we get closer and closer. It's not like that for the rest, but it just feels like that from my point of view.
Number 5.
Number 5 for me is the expansion to Space Base from AEG. Shy Pluto, or should I say the inversions of Shy Pluto. Space Base is a dice rolling engine building game. It's got that really cool mechanic where on every player's turn, you're rolling the dice, but everyone else is also seeing if they can activate things on their player board. The expansion contains story-based scenarios that introduce new content to the game. Not only are there new ships, but new scenarios as well. Once the story is completed, you can add in the modules you want to play with in future games. Actually, as I was recording this, I actually remembered the Command Station box came out too. I love me some Space Base. I'm glad it all fits now in the Command Station. I'm really excited that they added the Lightspeed variant in the Command Station because that really helps me bring it to the table more often. It gets the game started a lot faster because you're starting with more stuff, and I probably will never go back to not playing it without the Lightspeed variant.
Number 4.
Number 4 is the Wingspan to Wingspan, the European expansion. Wingspan's a hand management set collection game for 1 to 5 players. This expansion adds birds with round end abilities that increase interaction between players, and birds that benefit from excess cards and food, and new purple eggs. Now, Wingspan's already in my top 10 board games of 2019. The expansion brings some really cool things that the original doesn't have. I like what this brings to the table. I'm glad that it brings more birds to the table. I'm actually looking forward to what other Wingspansions will bring to the table.
Number 3.
Number 3 is the expansion to Barenpark, the Bad News Bears. Barenpark is a tile-laying game where you're building your own bear park. The expansion adds 3 modules to the game, like new goals, grizzly bears, and 3D monorails. I think the expansion is way better for gamers. I think I would actually introduce other tile-laying games to either non-gamers or for beginning gamers. Personally, I like the game itself. It's a good game. I just love what the expansion brings, and I love what it all does together. There's monorails. The 3-dimensional monorails are just super cool.
Number 2.
Number 2 for me are the expansions to Trickerion. Trickerion is an awesome worker placement game for 2 to 4 players set in the world of illusionists. The Academy is the bigger of the 2 expansions with a new location and new magicians. The technology one affects the individual players more with new tricks and contraptions that they can utilize. I think I personally like Dahlgaard's Academy just a little bit more. It brings, of course, more to the table, but they both bring something to the table, and I like that they do that differently. I love all Trickerion goodness. I might have to redo my top 10 board games of all time. I just hadn't played it enough at that point. It's been a few years, so maybe in the next year or 2 I'll have to redo that.
Number 1.
Number 1 is the expansion to Teotihuacan from Board and Dice. This is the late Preclassic period. Teotihuacan is a dice worker placement game for 1 to 4 players. This expansion adds in a bunch of modules that you can choose to play with. Asymmetrical player powers, a 4th temple, allows you to unlock permanent powerful abilities, seasonal effects, new engineering techniques, and more. Now, this game actually didn't get to start playing until 2019. I know it was released in 2018. One of my favorite parts of the expansion are the asymmetrical player powers. Those are pretty cool. But another one of my favorites is the 4th temple that brings a lot to the game as well. So I asked on social media what were some of your favorite expansions from 2019. Here are some of them: Terraforming Mars, Turmoil, Empires of the North into Japanese Islands expansion, Fistful of Monsters, Euphoria, Ignorance is Bliss, the Roll for the Galaxy expansion, Rivalry, Railways of Portugal, Dice Settlers, Western Sea, Shadow Veil for Valeria Card Kingdoms, and the expansion to Underwater Cities. Well, I would love to hear what your favorite expansion was from 2019. Tell me in the comments below. Tell me why mine were totally off or whatever. Love to hear what your thoughts were from the expansions of 2019. And as always, we would love for you to subscribe to Tantrum House and check out all our videos coming out.